Hess, who is running for Arizona governor.
Can you hear me all right without this thing? No? I need the microphone? Alrighty. My name is Barry Hess. I am the Libertarian nominee for governor here of Arizona, one of 4 people in the world who are qualified, who are in position. And I want you to be very, very aware of that when you look over your candidate selections, because now we're past the primary. We're past it. So political parties mean absolutely nothing. Right now, you're going to vote for your families, for your communities, and for what you know or think to be right. So seriously, you've got to pay attention. How many people watched the one debate that we've gotten? Not too many. I would urge you, it's up on the web. Go take a look for yourself and see who you want running Arizona. Let me give you a little bit of background. First off, I'm really glad to be up here, and I'm very grateful you all pushed past whatever it is you have to push past in order to be here tonight. It shows you care. That's what this Tea Party thing is all about. I was privileged to speak at the first one, and with 10,000 people, got the biggest response. And I think that started things going for where people said, wait a minute, maybe they do have some good ideas. Where I come from, I will tell you, I probably am the most highly qualified Republican in the state, credentially. My history started back in 1979. I had the great opportunity to work on a fantastic campaign with an incredible candidate who, after some discussion, and I gave him my points of view, he said to me, in a very wonderful man, he said, Barry, you're not a Republican. And my heart hurt. It seriously did. And I quickly sprang back into defensive mode and I said, yes I am. I'm from New Hampshire. You had dinner at my dad's house a couple of weeks ago. And I really was scrambling because I didn't know what the identity was. And then he said something very fascinating. He said, no, you're a libertarian. I thought he was calling me names. I didn't know what it was. But he looked at me in that wonderful way because he had an ability to take the complex and make it very, very simple. He said, because 1, you do not back up on principles, and 2, because you hold your government to the same standard of moral accountability as you would any individual. And when Ronald Reagan says something like that, you pay attention. It took me 6 or 7 years, in 1987, I think, was when I registered as a libertarian and decided to come out of my shell, to be who I was. And all of my wonderful buddies, all of my wonderful Republican friends who invited me to all the parties and all that good stuff, poof, went away. They told me I sold out. No, that party sold out. And I was into libertarianism because it is the oldest political philosophy in this country. You can see what it is. Has anybody read the Declaration of Independence? That's where it's enumerated. That's the ideas, and it hasn't changed. It's not going to change. It comes down to some fundamental principles, some basics. That's what I love about it. The simplicity. Many people say you live in a black and white world, and yes, I do. I am very proud. But that's what it takes. When you know right from wrong and you don't shade the difference. We've seen all these politicians. We've seen them. I know these characters going back decades now, and I've made it a point to get to know them. I know half the legislature and the people who are in power. I know why they're thinking what they're thinking. And I hear that, oh no, but we can't because we've got to watch out for that wasted vote. I love that. Because that's one of the greatest political manipulations I've ever heard of in my life, and they did it as a propaganda assault on all of us with the last election. They conned you into thinking you could vote against a candidate. Isn't that funny? I'm not going to vote. I've got to vote against. I've got to vote against. Well, here we've got a chance. We've got 4 candidates. And right now, probably 34 or 35%, which the Tea Parties very definitely make up, we can do something. We can write some pages of history. Now, who does that attract? Anybody know Richard Mack? Anybody? One of the most incredible people, Republican, endorsed me in the primary. Political courage. Karen Johnson, Senator Karen Johnson, anybody know Karen? Endorsed me in the primary. political courage because they've had enough. They know that if you select either of the other two main candidates and or Larry, the green guy, nice man, but he kept agreeing with me, which is really odd. But I did get a lot of green support, incidentally, the last time I ran, and it was up here in Flagstaff, and I thought that was fascinating when they found out libertarians are the greenest people in the world. We don't let anybody pollute at all. At all. Imagine if you couldn't pollute beyond your property's borders. Now these Republican Democrats, they say, well, you can go up to 25% or so many parts per million in the air or the water and all this nonsense. It makes it hard to spot. We like things clear, clean, and crisp. The border. Let's talk about that border. I've got the only plan that shuts it down completely. We don't need a fence. We use passive denial systems. People go, oh, that's space age. Woo, future. No, no. Over 20 years around Groom Lake up in Nevada. Anybody know what Groom Lake is? Absolutely. And you try to get in there, and that's how I would secure our border. We can do it in 6 months at a cost of pennies. Except my plan actually has it self-funding. So it doesn't cost us anything. We don't have to destroy the environment or the migration of animal life, which the PETA people and all the environmental people are very concerned about. And besides, if you want to get around a fence, you can get around a fence. And I hate to quote her, but my good friend, I'm kidding about the friend part, Janet Napolitano said, you show me a 30-foot fence and I'll show you a 31-foot ladder. And that is the fact. The thing is, practical solutions. My plan is far more comprehensive on the border. It gives a disincentive for people to come here illegally. It gives them an incentive to come out into the light and work legally, so that we don't run into problems that many people here don't even consider. I call it that La Migra syndrome. And after you've heard a few hundred people who put their time in 10, 12 hours a day in the hot sun on the roofs during the build-up, these construction companies knowingly hiring illegal people, then at the end of the day they go to collect their pay that they had bargained for, and what do they hear? You ain't getting nothing. I'm calling La Migra, which incidentally, the border people.
Nice.
That is unconscionable. We cannot allow human beings to treat people like that. So why not end it? Well, the reason it doesn't end, and Jim Brewer, the temporary governor, has no plan at all. And all you hear her say, what's your plan? What's your plan? She's looking for ideas because she is bereft of any possible ideas. I've known Jan for a long time. She put me on the federal HAVA committee, the Help Americans Vote Act, for the electronic voting. I'm the only one out of 50 committees of 20 upstanding citizens in each state who stood and voted against it because we knew it was rife with fraud. That is the fact. The electronic voting was put in place for one purpose, and that was to make sure they could control the outcome. Skeptical? Take a look at all of the spending propositions. In the last 10 years, you're going to see some interesting magical numbers. 49, 51%. Statistically, impossible. And yet that's how all these spending bills pass. Are you figuring out it really isn't the Republicans versus the Democrats? It is your government against you. As libertarians, we consider ourselves to be the keepers of a sacred trust between their people and their government. We just want to keep it honest. Is that so much to ask? Is one issue, this 1070? Forgive me, I did go to law school. I read 1070. And from the very start, I opposed it very simply, not in its intent, but in its language. It is national ID. It puts every single one of us into a database that is dangerous in every sense of the word. Has anybody seen the video on the internet of the guy calling up for the pizza and the ladies telling him about his cholesterol and his credit rating and his light bill? That's what we are talking about in national ID. I don't want my children to be subject to a tyrannical government that can control them, or in my specialty of subjects, which was in university, it was the Soviet Union, where people disappear. and all of the records disappear with them. That was hard.